5 o'clock and it's time for Wham Bam Thank You Slam. I always feel like my name is Nan Tepper and I started this thing that I do every month and drive everybody crazy with. And I'm going to try not to be too me, but sometimes I am. Uh, and that's just part of the beauty of Nan Tepper, I guess. Anyway, we're going to stop doing that. Oh, Jasmine's here. Great. So I always think, oh, I should write a little script and say the things at the beginning of the show, but I always run out of time. So I'm gonna extemporize just a little bit. I just want to tell you that after our last show, which really was phenomenal, and if people here haven't seen that first show, I mean that third show, take a look at it. It is an extraordinary collection of stories. All three slams that have happened before were fabulous, and everything is on the Wham Bam Thank You Slam website, and they are our show replays. Um, I want to take a second and just mention that I had announced at the last show that we were lucky enough to get a nonprofit fiscal sponsor. And after I announced that, I had four people step up and make really generous donations. Uh, and I want to acknowledge Amy B., who was my first founding sponsor. She is in on the Camino right now. She's walking the Camino. She organizes an in-person story slam in Sacramento that I am dying to attend. And she is also on Substack and writes the greatest posts about storytelling. Carrie Bentley Quinn, another sponsor, Michael Baccio, founding member, Amy Gabriel made an amazing contribution at the very start of this, not even knowing what it was going to look like. And it was just the most amazing acknowledgement. Um, and we also have Elizabeth Dana Yaffe, who's one of our storytellers. She's been an incredible support through my learning how to do all of this. And that's all I'm going to say. Now, we have a great lineup today. My friend Eileen Dougherty, who has been an amazing contributor to Wham Bam, Thank You Slam, and partnered with me at the beginning to create this, isn't here today. And she usually tells the opening story. Because our theme is death and taxes this month, I wrote two stories, one on taxes and one on death. And I'm going to start. I'm going to start us off. Enjoy the show. Oh, wait, Mel, I forgot about the most important thing. You didn't do the housekeeping. Yeah, I just launched right in.
So
Can
I
you
will
jump
take over
in?
just for a second.
Please
Yeah, just
do.
for a
Sorry,
second.
guys.
Yep. Uh, Okay. Let's see. Spotlight.
Oh, I just tried to
My
spotlight
spotlight's being
you.
weird, so I'm just gonna take it from here. Yeah,
Okay,
it's bouncing back and forth.
you're
So,
connect. Go
if you
ahead.
guys could do us the favor of when the stories are going on, please mute yourself. But at the end of the story, it would be great if you would unmute and applaud. During stories, feel free to use the little reaction button below where the heart is, and you can give some people some love. That's really great since it's kind of silent while we're telling stories. So that's enough for now. You know where your snacks are, you know where your bathroom is. So you're good there. Ah, yay, reactions. Thank you, Mesa. Absolutely. All right.
Is that it? That's all? Okay. And if you have any issues with anything, you can send us direct messages in the chat. If we don't answer right away, it's because we're doing other things, but we are keeping our eyes open for that. And I thought there was something else, but it could come up later and we'll talk about it. But please be mindful of your muting and unmuting. It's really, really hard when somebody gets interrupted during their stories. And we'd like to avoid that. So I think it's just mindfulness. Is that it? Did we do it? We did it. Great. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to tell a story about taxes. April 15th came and went. My taxes were due. Your taxes were due. Did you file? I didn't. Now, don't go getting any ideas about how brave and rebellious I am. I'm brave and rebellious in my best imagined version of myself. And no, I'm really not stupid. I'm not at all stupid. I'm just really, really pissed and I have a vivid imagination. I filed an extension. One reason? I'm a designer, not a bookkeeper. I suck at money. And I thought, let them wait. Why should they earn interest on my money? I was ready for Kamala, for caring, for kindness. But the worst thing possible happened for a second time. The first time, that was just a dry run. He needed to practice. Now, the worst is happening every single day. I want no part of it. Here's my plan. Each American stops paying federal taxes. Escrow it or send it to your state. Let's show them what a government shutdown really looks like. They need to be reminded that they work for us. They're civil servants, not civil oligarchs. And if they don't pay taxes, why should we? Bring it to a halt. Overwhelm this travesty of a government with so much civil disobedience they won't know what hit them. If everyone in the country stopped paying taxes, it would create a calamity so enormous that it's beyond our ability to comprehend the level of gridlock it would cause. That's my fantasy. Will it happen? Doubt it. Will I do it? Doubt it even more. I'll file. But because my expenses outpace my income, I might not owe a cent. Oh, wait, I mean a nickel, because there are no more pennies. My argument isn't rooted in any real knowledge of numbers, economics, or political theory. It's rooted in anger. It's fed by the disbelief that we're being managed by criminals, rapists, morons, and cowards. And we're paying our taxes? I want no part of this bullshit. Can you imagine paying into a machine that is systematically destroying the lives of the people who keep this nation going? Yes, us. We keep it going. What are we getting in return? More debt, less medical care, homelessness, food insecurity, housing shortages, insurance fraud and plunder, and failing infrastructure. Reductions in social services. Our bodily autonomy is being hijacked. Freedom of speech is being dismantled. All of these things are being taken from us, and we're footing the bill. We're being stolen from every single day by a monster who's building ballrooms and golden arches, a monster who's selling citizenship to the highest bidder, a rapist who's invading other countries illegally, killing innocents, and pillaging natural resources of his own accord while breaking one law after another and not being held to account. We're bankrolling our own demise. I don't want to pay for that. Do you? I want to live in a country that cares. I want to live in a country where dysfunctional patriarchy, is there any other kind, has been dismantled. It's the cancer, the cause of all our woes. I want to take care of others, respect differences, and live my life coming from a place of generosity. There's plenty to go around. The problem is distribution. So pay into this? I prefer not. Will I have to? I'll know more in October. I believe the only way to fix this is to burn it down and start over, if we're lucky enough to get another chance.
You can
Okay.
unmute yourself. Give her a little love.
Yay.
You don't have to say anything.
Burn it down.
Lovely.
All right.
Yes.
So
Ooh,
Burn it
brava.
down.
thank you.
Here.
So that was really fun. And it's really scary. And we're going to have a great time. So I'm going to introduce somebody who's very special to me. Her name is Susan Kavinsky. She writes on Substack. The name of her stack is Modern Mythology. We will be putting the links to everybody's sites in the chat as we introduce them. So you can track them down, subscribe, maybe give them a little money, maybe not. But Susan, please tell your story.
Great. All right, I called this Death in the Darkness. A few weeks ago, I entered a womb cave excavated into the earth for a total darkness retreat. When I switched off the light and crawled into the bed, the darkness had weight to it, aliveness, intention. It pressed against the length of my body and covered my face too, my eyes, my nose, and my mouth. Panic churned inside me, a shortness of breath. The "oh no" got louder. It rose in pitch and became, "I won't be able to breathe." I put my fingers to my face. Still here. Nothing on me. Just dark. Whew. Then the panic resolved into peace. 2 days later, I finally told my guide on the other side of the Hobbit door about that experience, and he gave me this exercise. Go back to that moment. Feel the pressure on the barrier between you and the darkness, your skin. Then let the darkness penetrate you. I sucked in a breath, associating darkness with evil. Why would anyone do that? Then I saw. I thought my body was a skin bag full of viscera, solid, that it was keeping the darkness out. But simple physics will tell you there's as much space between the molecules in my body as there is between the molecules in a seemingly solid table. Okay, I said, I'll do it. So I lay on the bed and felt my skin barrier, as flimsy as the one that exists between me and death. And the darkness penetrated my skin, which, honestly, is little more than a semi-permeable membrane. I took in a lungful, and pure darkness traveled all the way to my toes. Then it evaporated, rising back into the room through my porous skin. It created a cycle, in through my breathing, out through my pores, in through my skin, out through my exhale, until I was the darkness, inside and out, balanced. I heard the thought, if thine eye be single, and my whole body was filled with light, white light, pure light, the reverse of blindness, but I still couldn't see because now there was too much light. Where did the darkness go? I wondered. And then I heard this thought, if you want the darkness, open your eyes, but not just yet. So I stayed, eyes closed, flooded with light, total light. It didn't feel good or bad. It simply was. Then my eyes popped open, and as predicted, the darkness was right there. I'd died and gone into the light and opened my eyes and gone back into the dark, interchangeable. Then I wondered, what would have happened if I'd refused to open my eyes? What if I'd just stayed in the light? Would my body have died? Only my ego? Would I have become an enlightened master? I saw an image of Mr. Miyagi. Instead of wax on, wax off, he said, lights on, lights off, same.
Hey! It's on.
Wonderful.
That was your cue. When I make a Susan, thank you so much. That was great. I can't believe you did that. That's just, I don't think I could ever do that. Ever. I don't want to do that. All right. So
Don't want to.
next up. Oh, and I wanted to say, just wanted to remind people who are starting to come in a little late that we are putting the program in the chat. We are putting the writers' links to their Substacks in the chat so you can check them out later. And if your cameras aren't on, we can't see you at all. And it's really nice for the storytellers to be able to see you if you're not naked or eating a lot of food really fast. But like, come be part of the audience if it's possible, please. Okay. So our next storyteller is somebody who's been here before. Susan has been here before too. Jennifer Silva Redmond writes editor on board, and she has a really interesting living sitch, but we're not going to get into that too much right now. So I'd love to introduce you to Jennifer Silva Redmond. She's a wonderful, wonderful person and supporter.
Thank you, Nan. And not on the boat right now, as y'all can see. Okay. I didn't click right away with my mother-in-law, Alice. She was a different kind of woman, always coiffed, decked out in a dress, heels, and stockings with a full face of makeup. I am, suffice to say, not at all like that. But we both loved her son, Russell, who became my husband, and we found common ground in books, especially the works of Willa Cather, a mutual favorite. And upon that foundation, we built, slowly, a friendship. The years went by, and we became closer, especially as Alice began to have trouble dealing with Medicare and the rest of the healthcare bureaucracy. I didn't know much more than her at the time, but I was pushy and computer savvy, so I was able to exert enough pressure after about 1 million phone calls to get her the help she needed. Eventually, she was getting visits from a doctor and other helpers at her small apartment. When Alice went to the hospital for a procedure that went badly, she ended up in a nursing home, and then after 1 million more phone calls, in a nice long-term care facility in Mission Hills, a leafy, lovely San Diego neighborhood rather near us. Alice didn't get better, but she didn't get worse, and her mind was still as sharp as broken glass. I was editor-in-chief of a small publishing house at the time in El Cajon, so I traveled across San Diego County twice daily, usually by bus and trolley, occasionally by car. We'd inherited Alice's 1968 Mustang from her a year earlier when it was clear she could no longer drive, and Russell used to drive up to Carlsbad to see her weekly. Now he commuted by bike to see her daily, and I sometimes used the Mustang when it wasn't in the shop. Friday morning, he got the call that Alice had suffered what they thought was a stroke. The car was in the shop, so Russell pedaled off to see her and called me at work. I was in an early meeting, so it went to my voicemail. When I called him back before lunch, he explained Alice was unconscious and not expected to wake up. She might hang on for days or weeks, no one knew. But they told him she might be able to hear voices, so he was planning to stay in her room all day and talk to her. I offered to come right away, but he said it would be better to come after work when he'd need to take a break and get something to eat. Also, he reminded me the Mustang needed to be picked up at the shop. Could I do that? If not, we'd be without a car all weekend. I called the shop and they agreed to have the car ready at 5, and just after 4, I caught a ride downtown from a colleague. The traffic that Friday afternoon was terrible, big surprise, but I managed to get to the shop just before it closed, write the check, and get the car. I drove over to Mission Hills with my heart pounding, feeling guilty for running late. Walking into Alice's room, I found her looking like a wax figure propped up in that hospital bed. I went over and embraced Russell. He explained that he'd been talking to her for hours, but she hadn't made a sound or moved a muscle. I told him to take a break, but he sat back down looking numb as I went over to sit beside my mother-in-law. Her thin white hair was mussed, and I stroked it into place and kissed her cheek. Then I leaned close, put my mouth near her ear, and spoke. "It's okay, Alice. I'm here. I'll take good care of Russell. You don't have to worry. I love him with all my heart, and I will always be here for him." A sudden raspy intake of breath a moment later surprised me, and I pulled back to look at her. There was still no expression on her face, but as I watched, she exhaled and relaxed into what looked like a peaceful sleep. I waited. She did not take another breath. Russell joined me at her bedside, both of us in shock, looking at her and then at each other. It was clear that this strong-willed woman had been waiting to depart, to move on, and by assuming responsibility for her beloved son, I'd given her permission to leave him.
Yes.
Oh, thank
Woo,
you.
can everybody unmute and clap,
Amazing.
please?
That's
Wow.
such
Beautiful.
Let's
a
see
Beautiful.
some great
Wow.
emojis. Thank you so much,
beautiful,
Jennifer.
beautiful story.
Thank you. That was
Really
beautiful.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, all right. Now, woo. How did we meet, Rosanna? I don't remember, but you don't have to tell. You don't have to tell me later. I don't remember, but we met recently, and Rosanna Francescato writes a stack called Flower Child. And I totally related. There were amazing, those flower decals used to put on Volkswagens and stuff. She's got that all over her stack. So I was completely, I was there. I was there. So Rosanna is going to tell us a story now. And she's ready to unmute. That's it. And we're going to, great.
Thank you, Nan. And I have a couple friends watching from a boat where they live, by the way.
Yay.
I want to die. My father wasn't one to offer complaints unbidden, but I'd asked how he was, so he told me. A year earlier, I would have been fighting back tears. Now I just nodded. I got it. At age 90, William Shatner had just gone into space. At age 90, my frail, rail-thin father could barely walk down the hall without help. He needed help to change his clothes. He needed help to brush his teeth. He needed help to go to the bathroom. He seemed like he could keel over any minute. My sister and I were sure he was hanging on for Mom. He'd often ask us, "What are we going to do about Mom?" We were all exhausted from Father's 2 decades of decline, from a neurological ailment that affected his digestion, his balance, his blood pressure. He'd sometimes get so dizzy he'd faint. We hated to see him barely existing, going through his empty days in such a diminished state. But there was Mom. She had mild cognitive impairment caused by taking Valium since the 1970s. Way more Valium than we had realized. Much more robust than Father, though not in great shape herself. Mom was always sure she was the one on the verge of death. She'd tell us she was dying on Tuesday, and then again on Friday. When she asked me to cut her hair, she said, "I want to look my best, even if I'm 6 feet under." One day, a physical therapist was scheduled to come over at 1 to help her with some pain in her legs. Father texted to ask us to cancel the appointment. "Mom says she's dying," he wrote, "and she'll be dead by 1. She didn't die. Meanwhile, Father got weaker and weaker. He needed more and more help. We'd hired a caregiver part-time, but the rest of the time, my sister was the main caregiver, even bathing him sometimes. When she took a 3-week trip, I had to take over. That's how one day I found myself wiping my father's butt, something I never thought I'd be doing. Had he done it for me when I was a baby? I had my doubts, given I was born in the 1960s when most fathers weren't changing diapers. But it wasn't the time to ask. Instead, I quickly did the necessary task in silence then tossed the latex gloves and wipe I'd used in the trash. The air was close and rancid. I bent down to help Father pull up his Depends and his sweatpants. He grunted, then grimaced as he held onto the nearby sink to hoist himself up. I supported his arm as we made our way slowly down the hall to the bedroom. There, he eased himself into his chair, where I would help him change into his pajamas, take his pills, and brush his teeth, in a bedtime routine that would take nearly an hour. "I'm sorry you have to do this," he said softly, looking down at his lap. I patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, I'm glad I can help you." I really was, and I wished I could be anywhere else. A couple years later, Father sat down in his chair one night and died. A mercifully quick death after his prolonged decline. We were relieved it was quick. We were relieved his years of suffering were over. Even Mom, though inconsolable, admitted she was relieved about that part. I was relieved I'd never again have to wipe his butt. But I was glad that when he'd needed me to do it, I did.
Unmute
Great
and clap.
Very
nice.
And
nice.
emojis.
Yay.
Thank
So
you
moving.
so much,
Great.
Rosanna. The
It was
story is
beautiful.
beautiful.
So good.
Also, folks, if you feel like it, you can always comment on the stories in the chat. We save it and then I share it with the storytellers if they don't get a chance to read it. This Zoom is wonderful for so many things, but the fact that we don't have an audience sitting together side by side and spontaneously clapping is the one challenge. So feel free to overdo it at the end of each story, however you like. Okay. Now, our next storyteller is somebody also. It's like I have made so many friends on Substack that I feel like I never have to leave my house. And a lot of you know I don't very often. But I don't know. I just remembered where we met, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Sandra Ann Miller has a very special stack that I don't know terribly too much about, but I implore you to check it out because it's called The Happiest, not the happiest, The Happiest. And she's a coach and she's really fun. So without further ado, Sandra Ann Miller.
Hi, I'm Sandra Ann Miller, and I'm about to tell you why. You may not realize what a common name Sandra Miller is. I was first introduced to that anomaly when I was 19 and went to see my gynecologist. You've lost weight, the nurse said as I stepped off the scale. Maybe 5 pounds, I replied, somewhat confused. She examined the chart further, asked for my birth date, and came back with the correct file. Then there was the Sandra Miller who kept canceling my appointments when the dental office called her instead of me. My birth date was invoked when future appointments were made. I cannot tell you how strange it is to walk into a shop on Abbot Kinney and be surrounded by your name, Sandra Miller, Sandra Miller, Sandra Miller. It seems there was an artist named Sandra Miller who also lived in Venice, California. She made frames and did nice work. I always thought my name was kind of bland and boring. The only thing that could make it any waspier was to marry a Jones and hyphenate. But it was my name. Sandra or Sandra, didn't matter how you pronounced it, as long as you didn't call me Sandy. That's an adjective, and who the fuck likes being Sandy? If you need to shorten those 2 syllables to one, call me Sam. That was the compromise. My father wanted to name me Samantha and call me Sam. My mother planned to name me Patricia after Nixon or April as in the month I was born. I'll never understand either of her choices, but I really don't understand her. Anyway, I had a cousin named Trisha, so the Nixon option was nixed, and I think it's a law that Aprils have to be blonde, so the initials came into play. Not sure how Sandra won, but Anne was my mother's middle name, and the last name came with my father. One day in the late 90s, I came home to my duplex in Venice, California, to find a lien notice from the IRS. I went into a panic, wouldn't you? I know I paid my taxes, right? My CPA should have paid my taxes. I was working freelance then and living paycheck to it's in the mail paycheck. I was terrified that those feds had made a mistake, and a lien meant money would soon disappear from my accounts. I was in my late 20s, still young enough to be easily spooked by one of the scariest entities known to man. I called the IRS, gave them my birth date and social security number, and they quickly resolved the matter. It seems that another Sandra Miller in Venice, California hadn't paid her taxes for a while. Why couldn't you tell this Sandra Miller from this address had paid her taxes? I asked the nice agent on the line. I could hear her shrug through the connection. We just try everyone, she said, then offered, since you both live in the same city, maybe go by your full name from now on. And that's how Sandra Ann Miller was born.
I love that story so much.
So now you're
Yay!
Sam.
Fantastic.
Hey,
That's great.
It was a great
thank you
job.
guys. So
Yeah,
good.
And your
lovely.
initials are Sam, so your dad's happy.
There you
Well,
go. That's
that's a
where it
story
came
for
from.
another slam.
That's really funny. Thank you so much, Sandra Ann.
Beautiful.
I don't call you Sandra Ann though.
Totally
Um,
fine.
good. Okay. Well, you weren't
Who
called
the heck
Sandra
likes to
Ann
be
when you came into
Sandy?
the room. Sandy.
Who
That's a
likes
great
to
line.
be Sandy?
Great line. Great line. Okay. All right. Moving on. Ah, this is somebody I do know pretty well. And we met on Substack, and I fell in love with her writing. And her name is Rona Maynard. I said it right. And she writes Amazement Seeker. And I don't think there's anything else to say. I think you should just meet her now. Thanks.
It must be a beautiful day. Sunlight warms the bed. My eyes are too heavy to look at the window or the woman I could touch if I still had it in me to lift my arm. Stillness is everything now. The summer day sliding toward dusk, my body sinking into the sheet that the woman has touched just so. Hospital corners, my mother used to say, a move I'll never learn. Not long before my mother died, a nurse told me, it's a privilege taking care of her. She's a special lady. How could she know? Days had passed since my mother spoke or opened her eyes. My mother used to be an extraordinary woman. I'm sorry you never got the chance to know her. But I do know her. I can tell a lot about a person by how they respond when I lift them. Special people move with me, not against me. That's what your mother does. I trust the young woman beside me. Young to me, not to her. She has the firm, taut hands of 40 or so, without the hesitancy of 25. There's no part of me her hands haven't touched. I'm her work for a while. If doing what you're called to do with knowing hands is anything but a devotion. The last women I mentored were about her age when I moved on, after grooming one of them to succeed me. From afar, I watched them flower, missed them leaning against my office door frame with a question I alone could answer. For 10 years, I got to say, you can do this. Just because you've never done it before doesn't mean you aren't ready. Swish of a skirt, creak of a window. She's just opened it, this woman whose name I don't know. A breeze wafts over me, a wish fulfilled. How did she know? I'd call her Breeze if I could speak. When I was pregnant, older women said, you'll never feel so tired in all your life. they meant delivery. They'd never known the tiredness of every bone and sinew letting go, every cell giving up my place in the world, one by one. I didn't feel ready to go on without my mother. She died a week before I turned 40. Years after, I still heard her voice in my head. Breeze has never heard me speak. There's so much I'd like to tell her. She can do it, whatever tugs at her spirit. Just because she's never done it before doesn't mean she isn't ready. I don't have to tell her. She knows.
Oh, Berna, just land them.
Wow.
You
Thank
do.
you.
You land them
Beautiful.
every
Beautiful.
time.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Was
Thank you so much. I love that you
beautiful.
came and joined us in the slam. Thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Hey, Mel, guess what? You're up.
Wait,
Mel
what?
Mos
Okay.
What? Mel Mosley writes a stack. She publishes 2 pieces a week called Mel's Messy Love Lab. And I have absolutely no recollection how I'm meeting anybody. I just see somebody on Substack and I read something they wrote and I say, I'm going to ask them if they want to come play in the slam. And that's what I do. I do like, I'm like a casting agent on the prowl. And it's really fun because I get to meet so many wonderful, smart, talented people. So Mel Mosley is my Zoom maven. She started out just as a storyteller in our first slam, and seemed to know more about Zoom than I do. And so we made this affiliation reel, and she comes and she's the right hand who knows what to do. Mel Mosley.
My stepdad died 2 years ago. We weren't close. My parents, the two of them, my actual DNA contributors, are still very much alive, mid 80s, thriving, frankly. Death is something that hasn't touched me much. Taxes touch me every year, and I still don't get money. Whatever I do, whatever job I have, whatever catastrophe arises, I always end up in exactly the same place. $300 in my bank account and $10,000 in debt every time. It's like my financial set point. It feels like the law of physics, which brings me to the physicists. My stepdad made a shit ton of money as a physicist working in laser technology. My dad did too. Also, laser technology and education. My mom was attracted to physicists, apparently. I'm not actually sure what to do with that information, but somehow it feels relevant here. Um, I never dated a physicist. I dated a lot of engineers. I'm an artist raised by scientists, mostly physicists, a chemist or two further down the ancestral timeline, so that tracks. The engineers understood taxes too. I still don't. And that's not me being a dumb blonde. That's me saying this shit is ridiculous. Like gold. Can we talk about gold for a second? There's this idea that gold has value. I don't get it. Gold makes me want to throw up. Seriously, if someone tries to put a gold necklace around my neck, I will punch them in the face and then I will throw up. And I don't know why. It just feels wrong and icky. Someone once said it probably has something to do with past lives. Maybe, I don't know. But somehow the whole global economy is like gold matters. Who decided that? And why? And do you actually care about gold? Like more than you care about sitting around a campfire playing guitar with your friends? Obviously, we need to care about each other. We need to care for each other. Isn't that what taxes are supposed to be for? Those of us with more taking care of those of us with less? Except that's not how it works in real life in this country. Way too much paperwork and mathy bullshit. And also, The government already knows how much money I make. Just charge me. And please just charge the assholes who treat tax loopholes like a sport. Now I'm on to patriarchy. Crap, it always comes back to here. Okay, my mom liked physicists. Those physicists happen to be men. Death hasn't touched me much. Taxes touch me every year, and for how they work, I can't identify. And the people who understood the money, going or gone. And nobody left me the math.
Oh,
The
that was
story.
so
Amen.
good,
That was
except you were
so great,
frozen.
Mel. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just take another second here for people who might have come in late, and just do like a little promo. This project has to exist. I love it. I think it's necessary. I think we need to have a space where feminist voices are heard, not just women's voices. And what that means to me is that one day, when I can rustle up 10 men who are feminists, I'm going to have an all male review. I'm shooting for that for 2027. They have to be writers on Substack. And that's the only, they have to have a newsletter and write on Substack, because I want to support the people who write on this platform who aren't the gigantic stars, right? We are these small little creative people who might not have thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers who pay to read, but we're important too. And I wanted to create a space for us to showcase one another and support one another. So if you're into this and would like to see it grow and exist, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It's really important. I do this full time. I'm making about a nickel an hour, um, maybe, and because we don't have pennies anymore. So think about it. We can also donate and support the project with a donation. That will be tax deductible if you live in the United States, at least for now. So that's another route to take. And depending upon the amount you give, you will receive tickets. Any paid subscriber to the stack gets into the live show for free. If you can't afford to pay for it, but want to come to a live slam, all you have to do is get in touch with me. No questions asked, just let me know you want to come. And you're in, because I'm not going to close this to anybody. We have to take care of one another. It can't just be emotional. We also have to back one another with our dollars. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm done. I'm not going to do it at the end. Okay, so that's it, out of the way. Next up, I think Elizabeth Marrow found me. I don't remember finding Elizabeth. We're going to call her Betsy today. Betsy Marrow writes a stack called Spark. And
So
I
great.
freaking love that name.
Me
It's
too.
perfect. All right, I'm going to turn my mic off and we're going to spotlight Betsy.
Okay. I'm at my desk trying to write something meaningful, possibly funny about death.
Excuse me.
Can
Time
you?
out. Time out.
Oh,
Time out. Um, we're going to start again. We have the wrong
okay.
spotlight on. We have
I
the
didn't see my
spotlight.
face. Yeah.
No, we have the wrong spotlight on the person. That was the other Elizabeth. So let me find you. There you are. And I'm going to spotlight you. All right. Oh, what happened?
It
All
was
right.
kind of fun to see a different face show
I
up, but
know it's you. All right. Here you are. And this
it's
is
me.
this is Betsy Marrow.
Okay. And I needed the laugh, so thanks
Please,
very much.
please start again.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm at my desk trying to write something meaningful, possibly funny about death. Then you, little brother, decide to help. First, you stop talking. Then you stop moving. Now you lie in a hospital bed on a ventilator while puzzled doctors rule out one cause after another. I tap out these words between phone calls from doctors, nurses, our mother, sisters, and friends. I squeeze them in between texts, between research into seizures, infections, unexplained cerebral events. I am still jet lagged from the red eye I took to be with you. I'm exhausted from the early mornings and the late nights. I'm making lists with our sisters full of things we must do for our mother and for you, now that you can't. You're not committed to the idea of death. I get that. You're single for a reason. You've always preferred to keep your options open. But you don't like being alone in the world. When the chips were down, you knew you always had us. I found a scrap of paper while I was looking for your insurance cards. You'd scribbled a password. It read, "Family of 5," but it isn't 5 of us anymore. It's been 2 years since our brother Pete died, suddenly, quietly, just slipped out of life the way he used to slip out of the house when he'd had enough of us. Subtlety has never been your style. You blow into a room like a hurricane. When you blow out, we all shiver in your wake, sometimes devastated, sometimes relieved, never neutral. But you're still here, suspended mid-blow, anchored by tubes, wires, monitors, and machines. We talk to you, play music for you, make decisions for you while you lie trapped in your strong body. If you are who you've always been, there's a bellow inside of you fighting to get out. I've never known you to be at peace. Why would you start now? Well, you know what? I am not at peace right now either. I am a slow writer, but my thoughts race. I am a woman verging on 70 who knows that it is only a matter of time before more shoes drop. Drop, 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 until I am surrounded by empty shoes and up to my neck in grief, paperwork, and mounds of stuff that belonged to those I love. That sound you hear through the beeping monitors, me. Scratching out my novel and a few essays, scribbling in my journal because I love this work, even when it's hard, even when I hate it or it seems to hate me. Just like I love you and you love me, even when it's hard and we'd really rather not. You tried to be a hero, moved in with Mom, fixed the plumbing, fixed the meals, fixed the garage door that broke when she backed into it too many times, made sure she took the meds that she kept spitting out. You've tried to keep her slide an easy one. As always, you had your own motivations, but you love her. The nurses told me that when she visited you, the corner of your lip went up, you moved your leg. That was before the ventilator, the feeding tubes, the restless sleep that has overtaken you. We try to tell Mom that you are holding steady, that you will be okay. But she only believes us for a minute. Then she forgets and is afraid all over again. She's angry with us for bringing in strangers to do the job you were doing. She wants to be the woman she was. She wants to be your mother and protect you. She wants to drive. She wants us to stay with her. She wants to tell us all to go to hell. Well, I want her to be happy. I want you to wake up and be you. I want to write. I can't make her happy, and I can't make you wake up or control who you will be when and if you emerge from this. But I can write. I will write. I will live even while the shoes drop and the walls close in. That sound you hear? Me, pecking out words, one breath at a time. That's it.
Wow.
Betsy,
Wow.
powerful. Betsy,
Gorgeous,
Betsy.
Betsy.
Oh, Betsy.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful, Betsy.
Wow.
Thank you,
Betsy.
thank you.
Thank you so much. And this is
Beautiful.
going on right now. So
Yeah.
we're with you, honey.
Miss you,
I am.
Betsy.
Okay.
Good to see you.
All right. Beautiful work. God. What treasures you all are. Okay. Now we're going to hear from Singapore. Paige Oak. It's Oaken, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because you weren't here when I asked everybody to pronounce their names. Yay, I got it right. Paige lives in Singapore. And here's the thing that's so cool about this slam because I also always did like local slams, is this has no borders. And that's the world I want to see. I want to see a world without borders. So thank you for coming to be with us all the way from Singapore at 5:51 in the morning. Paige Oaken writes a stack called Turn the Page. Love it. Thanks, Paige.
I remember the day it happened with a cold panic and a racing heart. The top of the spirit house was askew, offerings scattered across the ground. I asked Det, our seemingly all-knowing domestic helper, if this was bad. She surveyed the damage and nodded. It's not good. The spirits need a roof. 12 months ago, as a newly minted expat hunting for our first Singapore rental, somehow, does the property have a spirit house? Never made my checklist. When I noticed the cute Barbie doll-sized cottage on stilts in the corner of our garden and asked our realtor what the playhouse was for, I discovered it was a shelter to contain local spirits and keep them from causing trouble. I spiraled. Who are these spirits? Why are they here? What do they want? Is it too early for us to move? Since then, I've come to understand that Singaporeans are incredibly comfortable with death. Spirits residing side by side with the living is completely normal, even comforting. At the time, however, my first thought was, it needs to go. Can we remove it? I asked my realtor. I'd strongly advise against it, he replied. So, what exactly am I supposed to do with it? It's a small matter, he said. You make simple offerings, food, drinks, incense. But he was clear. For prosperity and protection, the spirits needed tending. Fortunately, Det was completely unfazed. Several times a week, she quietly stocked the little house with oranges, mini water bottles, biscuits, and incense sticks. The spirits were happy. Over time, I made peace with the spirit house. Our toddler boys learned to play around it. I'm not even sure my husband knew it was there. And for a time, all was good. But toddler boys become rambunctious boys. Boys who kick soccer balls hard into spirit houses. Staring at the toppling roof, I decided I was done stressing over maintaining a home for ghosts I didn't even know. I called the realtor and insisted, we need to get rid of it. It's non-negotiable. A week later, he arrived with a small crew. A man with a shovel, a man with a solemn demeanor, and the homeowner's nephew. They explained that we needed to address the spirits directly, tell them why we were relocating them, and thank them for their service. I faced the little house and spoke. I have two very energetic boys. They will not be gentle with your home. I worry you'll get knocked over and then haunt me, and we won't sleep, and it'll be like the Annabelle doll, and you'll follow us from house to house, all because someone took a penalty kick. The men were staring. I took a breath and addressed the spirits again. Thank you for your service. They started digging. No chanting, no bells, no ceremony. They loaded the house into the back of a lorry. As they drove away, an odd emptiness came over me, and I thought, is it weird that I miss the spirits already?
Oh, so good.
Yay.
You
Have
have to
fun.
go back and read all the
Oh,
comments page
oh,
in the chat because there's so many comments and they're really, and now I have to have a spirit house. I do. They could be like the
Oh, I was
little, they
laughing.
could be like those little portable book little lending libraries
Oh, the
people are
lending
making
library.
for their trees. A
Little
little
free
one
spirit
on
house.
a tree so that your boys can't run into it. But they're probably
Oh,
old now and wouldn't do that. Or older. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Um, that was
that
so
was
fun.
great.
It was really fun. Thank you so much. Are you gonna stay for the end or are you gonna go back to bed? You're gonna stay? Okay, good. Super. Um, all right. So our next storyteller is somebody who is, I feel like we're sisters from another mister sometimes. Her name is Amanda Jaffe. And what do we have in common? Suburbia Jewish, about the same age. So we understand each other, really. Okay, Amanda Jaffe.
Hello.
Wait, we're spotlighting you. If I can
Okay.
find you. Where are
My
you? Oh, there you
stack.
are.
My
Yeah.
stack.
No, hold on, hold on. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
I just did it. Nan, hold on. Don't. Oh, okay.
I did it.
Yeah.
Or you did it.
Already?
Go for it, sweetheart.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, my 6-year-old son's goldfish is floating in his bowl. Fishy, the dependent for whom I can never take a deduction. The school carnival goldfish, whose one job is to die so a child can learn the harsh realities of life, has fulfilled his purpose. I flush him before my son notices, which solves the immediate problem, but creates another. When my son does notice, and he will, what do I say? This is traumatic for me, not just because I don't know how to discuss death with a 6-year-old, but because I have a backstory. Ricky was my pet turtle. And one morning when I was 6, I looked inside Ricky's terrarium and found nothing. My mom told me Ricky went to turtle heaven. All I wanted to know was how I could get to turtle heaven and bring Ricky home. My mom did her best, but Ricky went to turtle heaven still echoes in my head. And here I am now. My son's fish is dead, but I can't say that, and I refuse to say he went to fish heaven. My son spots the empty bowl. It's my moment of truth. I believe in being honest with my kids, but it's Saturday and I'm tired, so I say, Fishy was sick. I look into 6-year-old eyes filled with worry, and then I say, so we took him to the fish doctor. My son absorbs the news. When can we pick him up? He asks. This, of course, is my last chance to come clean. So, of course, I say, let's go. We're going to the fish doctor. When we walk through the door of our town's pet shop, I wink at Bill, the owner, like I've got an uncontrollable twitch, which by this point I do. Hi, Bill, I say. We're here to pick up Fishy. The fish doctor said he's feeling much better. In improv, this is called yes and Bill's an improv master. Oh, yes, he says, and he's doing great. He's in the tank playing with his friends. Bill walks us back to an aquarium teeming with goldfish, turns to my son and asks, he's done this 3 times today, which one is he? My son peers into the tank while I hold my breath and reconsider every life choice I've made in the last hour until that's him, my son says, pointing at a goldfish who's 100% identical to every other goldfish in the tank, if not every goldfish in the world. Bill puts his hand on my son's shoulder, smiles, and says, I thought that was him. Fishy number 2 led a long, uneventful fish life. Long enough that my son officiated at his funeral, fully aware of the existential consequences. That son's a doctor now, a people doctor. I've gotten away with the story about the fish doctor for years, but my son is going to see this, and it's time to face the music. Honey, I need to tell you something. Fishy didn't go to the fish doctor. Well, he went to fish heaven.
Oh, thank you.
So
A
good.
creative
So good.
solution to the
So good.
So good.
Fish
frustration.
So good.
doctor.
So good.
Oh, that
So
was
great.
great.
I love the
Yeah,
fish store guy.
the fish store guy
Yeah.
was
He was
great and
good.
cool.
His
Yeah.
only job was to die.
Oh, that was a great line.
Great job. Great job, Amanda. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, this time it's time for the other Elizabeth, who we don't call Betsy, we call her Elizabeth. Elizabeth Yaffe writes a stack called Embodity, and she is one of our matron saints of generosity, which I will be forever grateful. Please welcome Elizabeth Yaffe.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to say again, I'm having a little problem with the respiratory issues, but I'm going to try this anyway. All right. In 1990, when I was 30 years old, a blood vessel burst in my brain, causing a massive disabling stroke that almost killed me. I was visiting Los Angeles for a long weekend with my sister. I'd been going through a turbulent time, so the getaway to LA was a welcome change. Before I almost died, I was having breakfast with my sister. I picked up the warm cup of coffee, took a sip, and put the cup back on the table. That was the last action my left hand performed before it completely vanished from my awareness. I looked down and saw my hand lying there as if it belonged to someone else. The sudden numbness was unearthly, eerie, and complete. The essence of my hand had fled. The numbness crept up my arm. I was disappearing inch by inch. My hand's gone completely numb, I said to my sister. Well, you must have slept on it funny, she replied. The deadness now traveled to my shoulder. Somehow I knew what was happening. A voice in my head announced it to me. No, I said, I need you to call an ambulance and get me to the hospital. I'm having a stroke. Then the numbness hit my face. My right hand grabbed at the void where my left cheek once was. My sister saw what I couldn't. The left side of my face had gone slack. My mouth sagged and my eyelid drooped as all the muscles went dead. Oh my God, my sister cried out. I stood up and my left leg gave out. My sister grabbed me, and as I slid to the floor, I sprawled on my back, looking up at her. Her face was so pale, it was almost luminescent. Get an ambulance, I said again. She didn't want to leave me, but she went to make the call. I was surprised that I felt no panic. It all seemed surreal. Was this really how my life would end at 30 years old? I realized with complete clarity that there was nothing, absolutely nothing that guaranteed I'd live. My organs began to react to the trauma of my impending death. I vomited orange and green fluids that were impossibly bright, and I was embarrassed by my lack of control over my body. I was losing connection to the material world, dissolving into an oceanic current around me. A relentless, powerful force was moving through me and through everything else. I felt like I was going out with the tide. I hit the floor with my fists and kicked the walls. To stay alive, I had to connect with the solidity of my surroundings. I'm alive, I'm material, I'm here, I told myself with each blow. By the time the ambulance arrived, I was moving in and out of consciousness. One of the paramedics stood over me, speaking with thinly veiled contempt. He grilled me about whether I'd taken drugs and refused to believe me when I said I hadn't. I heard my sister pleading with him to get me to the hospital. He turned on her. Look, lady, if she's going to go this fast, there's nothing they can do for her anyway. After a hellish ambulance ride, we arrived at the hospital. In the emergency room, unfamiliar faces, etched with concern, floated into view and vanished. I didn't see them clearly, I felt them. Their fears, anxieties, and empathy were pouring over me and into me like a substance. A young doctor with a beard approached me. He had a soothing presence. I reached up to caress his face with my right hand, and I felt complete love for him. "Can you move your left arm?" he said. I tried to comply, but it was impossible. "I don't know where my left arm is," I said. A sudden visceral wave of sadness moved toward me from him. I wanted to smile at him to reassure him, but I was too tired. I'd always hated hospitals, but now I was comforted by being there. It was like returning to the womb, a big, bustling, echoing womb, but peaceful nonetheless. I let go and allowed myself to drift away. Maybe I'd live.
Oh, God. Sometimes clapping
Oh,
doesn't seem appropriate.
wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh,
sometimes
Debbie.
clapping just doesn't
I'm
seem like the
clapping.
right thing.
I am.
Yeah,
I think
good.
it's wonderful.
It's so
That is what a
beautiful.
good story.
Thanks,
Oof.
Elizabeth. Thank you. And you did so great. Your voice was fine.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Hey, Sandra Ann, I didn't turn my phone off. Oh, okay. And for our last formal storyteller, I want to introduce Jacqueline Dooley. Jacqueline Dooley writes a stack called The Halfway Path. And Jacqueline and I met locally um, in a story slam that we both performed in. And I was a fan from the first time I heard her read. I think it was her first slam. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that properly. It was her first slam and she took first place. Uh, she's an extraordinary writer and a beautiful human being. Jacqueline Dooley.
Well, thanks, Nan. Thanks, Nan. That's really nice. Okay. Um, I'm a Gen X cautionary tale. I grew up hearing about American greatness. They had a plan for us, and I was dubiously on board with fulfilling it. I was cynical, but naively hopeful. I had dreams, but no real means to achieve them. I took a wrong turn at every possible intersection of my life. Dropped out of college, took on debt in my early 20s, failed to invest or save when I was young. I didn't do most of the things they said I should do to build some semblance of security, but it's not entirely my fault. I encountered all the obstacles unique to the last 50 or so years of American life, the things that have been steadily eating away at a comfortable middle class existence. The migration of money from bottom to top, for example, the collapse of any reasonable healthcare system, wage stagnation, the loss of job security, market deregulation, privatization, the corporate glorification of ruthless efficiency that told us to sacrifice our evenings and weekends for the company and we'd be justly rewarded. It was the American fever dream, and it felt hollow and disingenuous, but I bought into it for a few short years when the internet was new and exciting. We were sure the web was going to change everything. I guess it did, but not the way we thought it would. I got laid off during the dot-com bust in 2002 and made my escape from traditional corporate servitude in favor of freelancing. It won me more time with my toddler and autonomy from the 9 to 5 grind. And it's a good thing too, because that toddler didn't live past childhood. All I had was 15 years with her. They didn't teach me about failure in Gen X school. That sometimes you get laid off from the job that's your identity. And sometimes you get into so much debt by age 26 that you need to declare bankruptcy. They didn't tell me that sometimes kids don't grow up. Maybe all of the things we've been told are important are lies. The good job, the college degree, hard work, paying our taxes, a low mortgage rate. I guess that last one is kind of important. Maybe I'm full of shit, but some things are true. Capitalism is a failed experiment. Technology doesn't mean everyone has more time to pursue their passion. There's no such thing as freedom without wealth, not in America. America is the bad guy. My fellow cynical Gen Xers always knew this, and now it's clear to everyone. Fairness is a lie because they killed a nurse and a poet, and they're building a ballroom while bombing school children. Because Oracle and Microsoft and Amazon are cutting the white-collar jobs we went to school for. Well, not me. And gas prices are rising while the earth boils over. Maybe I should have stayed until 8, worked on the weekends, and climbed the corporate ladder even though I hated it. But I wanted to be with the baby who wouldn't live past 15. So I clocked out at 5, and I didn't work weekends. When I got the axe, I said, fuck the machine. I'll work for myself. So here I am, 20 years later with almost nothing, not even that baby. And yes, I'd do it all over again. I still have the house. I have my garden and my afternoon walks. I have my marriage and my 2 tiny dogs. I have the second baby, who just turned 22. Plus, I kept the thing they wanted the most, my time. I think that counts for something.
It counts.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. That
Counts
was
for
so
everything.
beautiful.
So
Amazing.
beautiful.
I can so relate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you so much for being here, Jackie. Really. Anytime you want to come back and do it again, any of you. And I do want to say, too, if there are Substack writers in the audience today who haven't signed up for Slam yet, who might want to do it, but is afraid, but maybe afraid to try, you have to talk to me first. Because I was terrified to do my first slam, and I did it about 12 years ago, and it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. I became a writer because I started doing slams. So, with that, I am going to end the show with the other piece. The first one was about taxes, so guess what this one's about? I do also want to mention that I didn't mention Amanda Jaffe's stack. The name of her stack is Age of Enlightenment. And all of the links to all of the writers' stacks will be posted as soon as I finish my story. So if you didn't catch it, if you came in a little late, you'll be able to track them down for more reading pleasure. Okay. I just have to bring my story up. Okay. My great Aunt Lily died when I was 9. She was the first death I was aware of. There had been a few deaths before hers, but those were the 25-cent turtles my parents bought for me as pets. I never saw them die. I'd wake up one morning and the little plastic terrarium would be empty. My folks said Mr. Turtle had to go on a trip. I knew Mr. Turtle was never coming back. My great Aunt Lily is the first person I remember losing. And she was an old lady. She was the first and only old lady I ever met who had long hair that went all the way past her butt. I didn't know it because she kept it up during the day, braids wound into a bun she pinned to the top of her head. I only saw it once when she slept over and let her hair down. Long brown hair stark against the white of her flannel nightgown. She brushed it out every night 100 times before she went to bed. Well, that's what she told me. I didn't watch. Aunt Lily once bought me a life-size doll. She knocked on our apartment door, and when I opened the door, the doll was standing right next to her, and we were the same height. Lily forgot I hated dolls. The horror of that moment made me slam the door in both of their faces. 4-year-old loses mind temporarily. 4-year-old is forgiven. Aunt Lily gave me the book Harriet the Spy before I was able to read it. It was inscribed to Nancy Ellen Tepper, the little girl I love. Harriet became my best friend when I finally read that book in 3rd grade. I have a tattoo of her on my arm. Harriet, not my aunt. Aunt Lily walked all the way from Wall Street in Manhattan to 81st and First, where we lived during the Northeast blackout on November 7th, 1965. She walked for almost 3 hours. She walked 6 miles in the dark to get to us because the trains were stuck in the tunnels. She couldn't get home to Brooklyn. When she knocked on the door, I didn't slam it in her face like I did on Doll Day. I gave her a big hug instead. She was special. She wasn't like other old ladies. She was interested in me. I knew she was real, not phony like the other old ladies who pretended to like little girls and would talk to me like I was dumb. Aunt Lily never treated me that way. I found out she died after her funeral. My dad told me, which was weird because Lily was my mom's aunt. I was sitting alone at the dining room table, looking at the dogwood tree in the backyard, leaves and blossoms missing. It was winter. He stood by my side and said, Princess Pussycat, we were just at Aunt Lily's funeral. She died. And that was it. I sat there with my back to everyone. I put my head down on the table. I suddenly needed to rest. I felt empty and guilty because I was supposed to feel sad. People are supposed to cry, right? I didn't have any tears. I was mad that they waited to tell me. I was mad that I didn't get to say goodbye. All I knew was that just like all the Mr. Turtles, I'd never see her again. And that's
So sweet.
Wow,
Thank
amazing.
Wow. Beautiful, Nan.
I really
Beautiful story.
loved her. She
Oh.
was
Yeah,
she
very
was
good.
she was my favorite grandmother's older sister. And she was a hoot. So that's the show. And I thank every one of you for coming to spend time with us today. And really, really, if there are writers here who haven't done it and want to do it, hit me up. I am available. I will talk to you. I will Zoom with you if you need to get on a call with me to like sort it out. But please consider joining us. We have to build this together. I cannot do it alone. I don't want to do it alone. I really don't.
you.
So, thank you.